So this is chemistry paper 4, mock set 2, okay? Okay. In this question, list of substances is shown. You can see bauxite, carbon dioxide, cryolite, ethane, ethanol, ethene, graphite, helium, hematite, hydrogen, silicon 4 oxide. I let me in between when I'm discussing any question, you can ask if you have a doubt related to that. If you don't have a doubt related to that, at the end you can ask me. I will answer. Answer the following questions using only one substance from the list. Each may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Manufacture by fermentation. What is manufactured by fermentation? What is manufactured by fermentation?
Ethanol.
Yeah. So ethanol. Ethanol is manufactured by fermentation. And what is the product of fermentation when glucose is, what is the reactant? The glucose is there in the presence of yeast, give out ethanol plus carbon dioxide. Next is monoatomic. Monoatomic means one atom. So which one is a monoatomic? Because you can also use your mic to answer the question. So monoatomic is a helium. It is a reactant.
Yes.
I will review because that's what
Review, sir.
it is a reactant of a photosynthesis. Because I just checked before the class. So it is a reactant of a photosynthesis. What is a reactant of a photosynthesis? When you see the elements or the substances given?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide plus water gives glucose plus oxygen. So this is a carbon dioxide. Is a solvent for extraction of aluminium, like we dissolve aluminium oxide in this. So what is the solvent for? So we have a cryolite. Cryolite is hydrogen is H2. It's a diatomic. So aluminium, we use a cryolite. Is an ore of the iron in the list. Which one is representing the ore of the iron? So hematite, Hematite. Hematite is the ore of the iron.
The bauxite is covered.
Aluminium, ore of aluminium. I will do correction, don't worry, because I did not, before the class only, I reviewed the paper. And yeah, do correction if it is wrong. Is a manufactured from methane. So what is manufactured from methane?
Hydrogen.
So just
Hydrogen.
So what is manufactured from methane? Hydrogen. Yes.
Manufactured by methane. So what is the fifth one? That is
Hydrogen. Like that is, if you remember in a Haber process, they ask what is the source of hydrogen. So you will say methane is a source of hydrogen. So from hydrogen, from methane, we get the hydrogen.
But what is E? Sir, this is not only one.
Yeah, there are many, but you have to use a list according to a, yeah.
Carbon monoxide is also manufactured, not carbon dioxide. By
Carbon dioxide with the
carbon monoxide by methane.
Also carbon dioxide for full combustion.
No, carbon dioxide does not burn. Carbon dioxide is a product of combustion.
Manufactured from methane.
No, it is not.
In the full combustion, it is produced.
But
the thing is, they ask what is manufactured here. By mainly, when you talk about the manufacture, you're referring the element, not a compound. Because of a compound, your process is there. The next is this question. Yes.
Sir, you said you will make mocks. Then why did you give past paper?
Because if you see the mock one, the set one, it was having different questions from different past papers.
But this one was the past paper.
Yeah, this one was a past paper. So
they have two past papers too, I think.
So don't worry about that. That's not an issue. The main thing is if you are doing the work properly, it's the same thing.
Okay, sir, I'll do unlimited past papers.
Okay.
Yes.
Tin 4 oxide has a formula of SnO2. So the first one which I conducted, that marks as the main one, because like if you score 30 out of 80 or 34 out of 80, that show your level, because that is from different. Most of the online, for online students, usually, yes, they are doing under their parent. Yeah, but the thing is, no, I do consider them. But what I conduct in the class, that is the true picture of you, where you stand. If you score like 50% marks, 60% marks.
It's a A.
The relative formula mass, yes.
Yes.
The relative formula mass of tin oxide is 151. Calculate the percentage by mass of a tin in SnO2. So we want to find the percentage. How to find the percentage of Sn? By mass. So you have to check the periodic table. What is the atomic mass of a tin?
119.
So Sn is there. You have 119.
Yes, sir.
So you have to put 100, because only one atom of a tin is present. So only one atom of a tin is present. So you have to write 119 divided by total mass of a tin oxide. So what is the total mass of a tin oxide? 151. Multiply by 100. What's the answer? 109. So
78.8%.
78.8%. Or say yes. You did opposite upside down. You put numerator. Percentage cannot be more than 100. Like if denominator should
I use the
denominator should be
percentage
smaller than the numerator. Because the thing is that
theoretical yield.
like the percentage should be less than 100. So if a numerator should be smaller than the denominator.
कैलकुलेशन प्रोसेस है वो उसको ऑपोजिट कर देना
Yes. Tin oxide is amphoteric. Amphoteric oxide means it can react with both acid and alkali. So tin react with aqueous sodium hydroxide to form a salt and a water only. The sodium salt contain a negative ion, that is a formula of SnO3 with a charge 2 minus. What is meant by meaning of the term amphoteric? The term amphoteric means it can react with both.
acid bases sir
Yes,
2 minutes break
go.
rest of 50 minutes
You can go. So it can react with both acid and alkali. That's why we call that as an amphoteric. Write a symbolic equation for a reaction of a tin oxide with sodium hydroxide. They mention a tin oxide react with sodium hydroxide. So tin oxide is SnO2 and it reacted with the sodium hydroxide NaOH to form a sodium salt and a water. But what is the salt of a sodium? They specify it has a ion of SnO3. So there is a sodium ion is there, which is +1, and there is a SnO3 ion, which is a 2 minus. So you cross multiply. 2 will be multiplied here and 1 multiplied here. So the formula for this compound. Yes.
2 marks is for what
1 mark is for right. Actually, 1 mark is there to write a correct formula for this sodium salt. 1 mark is for balancing the equation. So
सर तो मैंने मतलब
Na2, yes,
जो अभी आप पार्ट लिख रहे हैं
SO3,
NaSO3
Na2.
इस वाले पार्ट में मैंने गलती की बाकी मेरे जो
Then, because if this is wrong, the whole equation will be considered as
बाकी
wrong.
सही लिखा है।
So NaOH will be 2.
So then this is 1 mark for completing equation, then balance. You have how many? If I put oxygen, 3 plus 1, 4. So if I put 2, oxygen is balanced. Hydrogen 2, hydrogen is balanced. Sulfur, Sn,
Everything is balanced.
this is Sn.
is also correct.
The balance.
Yeah, this is Sn is balanced. Rest all of them are balanced. So this is a balanced equation.
Then do 2. I'm not that good. The marks you can't
No. Not 2. I put just cross there. It's like
Ah. So 2 लग रहा है.
then we have a tin is a metal that form a covalent and ionic compounds. Suggest why this is unusual for a metal.
Only
Covalent
forms
compound
are
can be
ionic
only-
bond.
Good.
made by non-metals
If you wrote react with base or acid, that is not correct. You have to say react with both acid and base. So you have to use the term both react with both acid and base, not or. And what is unusual thing for this?
yeah covalent compounds cannot be
Only form
be
a
carried by
ionic
non-metals.
compound, cannot form a covalent compound.
Yeah. So usually for metals, metal have a tendency to lose electron or form ionic compound. But here, what is happening? It is only forming covalent compound. So suggest why this is unusual for the metal, because the metal have a tendency to lose electron and they usually form ionic.
Is it correct
Bond.
if I write covalent compounds can only be formed by non-metals?
Yes, that's right. Tin 4 oxide is a covalently bonded with tin with a 4 electron in the outer shell. So tin share 1, chlorine share 1. An unshared electron on the chlorine, there will be 6 unshared electron. Yes.
इसकी mark नहीं दिया.
I did not give mark for anything. Na? I will do after the session. I will mark that. You will lose 1 mark for the bonding.
क्या किया तूने तो चेक पे जाएगा
Chlorine share 1, sulfur tin share 1.
क्लोरीन
So tin 4 oxide is ionically bonded. The melting point of a So tin chloride is melting point 133, but tin oxide melting point is 1080. Explain in terms of the structure and bonding why tin chloride is much lower melting point than tin oxide. So
SNO has a strong force between particles
and it has an ionic bond, like you will mention. It's the same answer what was there between the metal.
Weak bond. SnCl4 structure is weaker as the covalent bonds and intermolecular forces are weaker, which take.
Don't say structure is weaker, because when you say structure is weaker, when you say structure is weaker, it means the substance can break down easily. It's not like substance breakdown. It's a substance changes physically. So you have to state intermolecular rather than say in terms of structure.
both of these points are correct.
Don't say covalent bonds are weaker. That is wrong. Covalent bonds are also stronger. I will see. I will see. So you have to state, look, the answer here, you will mention tin chloride is covalent compound which has weak.
But they didn't ask if it is covalent compound or not.
Read the term of structure and bonding.
Molecular attraction
So you have to use the term. So SnCl4 is a covalent compound which has
weak molecular attraction between them.
weak intermolecular force.
Then what if we write?
Oh,
weak
sir,
bond?
intermolecular force is different than attraction, right?
Yeah.
Sir, what if we write weak bond?
No, not weak bonds. Weak intermolecular force. Or if you say weak bond between the molecule, then it's correct. Compared to tin oxide, which has
I just didn't mention the intermolecular.
ionic lattice, ionic bond, and the lattice of oppositely charged ions. Require greater amount of energy
That is
to separate.
सर सही लिखने हैं बस वो नीचे जा रहे साइड में देखो सही तो है.
Which type of property does tin has that is shear and loose? So tin, look, tin is not a typical metal. Some metals, most of the metal have a tendency to lose electron. But like example, same thing for a lead also. And when you see a periodic table, the position of the tin in the periodic table, you will find it is in group 4. So group 4, characteristic of the group 4, as you see here, group 4. So characteristic of the group 4 are non-metals. But when you draw the stairs between aluminium and so these elements, their compound, like they are refers to metalloids. Metalloid means there's some property resemble with the metal and some property resemble with a non-metal.
Sir, How
Yes.
many marks will I get for this answer?
Structure is weak. You will lose as a covalent bond. Intermolecular forces are weak.
Intermolecular forces, the word.
Covalent compound. You will score 1 mark here. Because you have to refer tin oxide as well. You did not refer tin oxide, strong ionic bond.
मैंने बात की थी सर SN4 is a covalent bond. Its intermolecular force is weak, due to which it has a lower melting point.
Part E, part of the reactivity series is shown magnesium, aluminium, tin. Most reactive is magnesium and the least reactive is copper. When aluminium foil is added to aqueous tin sulfate, the reaction does not occur. Because aluminium is more reactive, so aluminium should displace tin. Although aluminium is above in the reactivity. Explain why the reaction does not occur.
Aluminium foil does not contain the localized ions as it has the aluminium oxide on it.
Your last sentence is correct. Aluminium is having an oxide layer, inert oxide layer or unreactive oxide layer or less reactive oxide layer. So whenever you have a piece of aluminium, the piece of aluminium always have oxide layer. That aluminium oxide is not reactive. No, but the first part was irrelevant. So it's a 1 mark. You just have to say that aluminium contain a protective oxide layer which prevent it from reacting faster or quickly. So if you just write due to oxide layer, aluminium oxide on aluminium, you'll score that mark. An aqueous solution of a tin sulfate contain tin 2 ion. 2 experiments are carried out. Copper is added to tin sulfate. Magnesium is added to tin sulfate. Look, if you see this reaction, like example, a copper is there and it is added to tin sulfate. Will it react?
No.
No. Why? Because copper is least reactive. Copper cannot displace, so there will be no reaction.
This reactive or unreactive?
Least reactive. Least reactions are there, but in this order, it is least reactive. But when you add a magnesium to a tin sulfate, like a magnesium is there, and it is added to a tin sulfate, so magnesium will displace, and as a result, what will happen? It will form a magnesium sulfate and tin. This is an equation. But what about ionic equation? Always more reactive metal can exist as an ion. So if I want to write an ionic equation, so magnesium is reacting with tin ion, and as a result, magnesium, because it's more reactive, so magnesium will turn into an ion and tin will turn into an atom.
Or you could use such a
The more reactive metal turn into ion and the less reactive ion will turn into atom. That is what happened.
So we can cancel SO4.
Yeah, SO4 is a spectator ion. Yeah. So write an ionic equation for any reaction that occur. If no reaction occur, write no reaction. So the first one, there's no reaction. And the second one, we have to write an ionic equation. So what is the ionic equation? The magnesium atom is added to a compound which contain tin. It turn into magnesium ion and form a tin atom. In part F, hydrated tin to nitrate is decomposed when heated. What is meant by the term hydrated? Hydrated good. Contain water of crystallization.
Which contain water in its lattice.
Yeah.
Can we say it has water?
It has water, yes, it's right. But the right term, use water of crystallization.
Will I get mark if I just say water?
Yes, you will score them. But everything there's a term which you explain. So in exam, you're not supposed to just go there and think that that should be the answer. For certain terminologies you have to use when you're answering questions. Contain water of crystallization.
How water which contains water in its lattice? How? Is that correct terminology? Then how can we use that terminology?
Different terms you will use.
Sir, what's the terminology? What is that terminology?
Terminology refers to words, phrases which you use to express something.
Easy words.
You have to balance here. Look. Look. No, you have to balance. Like example, how many H2O are there? one molecule,
Acid.
one molecule contain 20 water molecule.
Yes.
So if two molecules are there, how many water molecules should be there? 40.
ये कब से हो गई? ये क्या scam हो गया? Scam हो गया?
सर ने नहीं भेजे
Scam हो
No,
गया?
because you put online. Online, I did not share.
सर I did it physically but online and neither offline neither online
So two molecules of water should be like 20 molecules in one mole. So 2 moles, it will have 40. So that's why we put 40.
so you should write 20 no
40. Why? Because see here,
because sir how is my balance incorrect then
see, this is one.
then that is two
No, this is one molecule. One molecule contain 20.
Yes.
In the question, we don't have one molecule. We have two molecules. So two molecules, how many water molecules should be there? 40 water molecules should be released.
सबके अंदर तो है.
No, no. I think Abdullah did right for this.
अब्दुल्ला करते हैं. सर अब्दुल्ला हमारे दिमाग चोरी करना होगा कल रात.
So we have to balance 10 and then nitrogen. This is 2 multiplied by 2 makes 4. So 4 nitrogen will be there. That's the
सर
balance.
कौन सा पार्ट में मेमोरी स्टोर दिया सर कार्ड का कनेक्ट कर दो
sir
सर.
how many parts bracket for this
If all correct, then you 2 marks. But here, not all correct. The next question 4. This question is about sulfuric acid H2SO4. Dilute sulfuric acid and aqueous sodium hydroxide can be used to prepare sodium sulfate. The apparatus is shown. Thymol pathylene is used as an indicator. Look, first, what you have in the flask?
Sodium hydroxide.
Sodium hydroxide. So what should be the color?
Blue.
blue colorless
Originally it should be blue. And finally it should be colorless.
Solution is neutral.
sir for the question blue means weak acid
No, this is a thymol pathylene.
no
It's-
in acid this in
No.
acid it is blue in alkali it is colored no
No, thymol pathylene is colorless in acidic and alkaline it is blue. You have to learn the-
strong and weak acid
Strong and weak acid depends on which type of indicator you are adding.
had for paper 4 why did they give for paper 6
Because paper 6 is practical exam, it does not matter
But
much.
what about
Because you're testing, if you see the go through the structure, if you go through the syllabus, the objectives are mentioned in the syllabus that they will test your memorization as well in paper 4.
but if
That is the objective.
but if you have memorized what is the purpose of it you can't even use it if you have memorized
किसमें?
Paper 4 you have to memorize, paper 6 they will provide the test of
if
science.
it was paper 4 you did first in your exam then paper 6 came then what is the purpose
You have to memorize. Simply, I told you from the beginning. You have
भाई प्रैक्टिकल में तुम्हें दिया हुआ होगा. Theoretical में तुम्हें नहीं दिया होगा. अब सोचो तुम्हारा भाई किसी ने उठा के फेंक दिया. हाँ तोड़ दिया.
Abdul,
ऑनलाइन भी नहीं लेने चाहिए
because I printed those papers.
सब प्रिंट कर लिया है ना.
Yeah.
शुक्र है.
जो प्रिंट किया तो कैसे देंगे सर फिजिक्स की
In the class you will give.
सर आसान है कि मुश्किल है सर.
सर ने आपने
So that's why universal indicator is not used for titration.
Neutral.
So no, give a range of colors, show variety of the color, show a color transition or
Right.
difficult to identify the color changes during the mixing of the acid and alkali. Yes.
Sir, I didn't write too many color changes. I left it. I checked from marking scheme while checking.
Yeah. So range of a color it give variation, variety of color, transition of the color.
I already checked mine.
25 cm cube of a sodium hydroxide
चले गए तो कम से
of a
कम.
concentration 0.1 is neutralized by 20 cm cube of a sulfuric acid. The equation is shown. Calculate the concentration of a sulfuric acid by steps. First, we need the moles of sodium hydroxide. Moles is equals to concentration into volume. So 25 cm cube of sodium hydroxide of concentration 0.1. So 0.1 multiplied by 25 divided by 1000. What is the answer? 0.1 times 25 divided by 1000.
0.0625.
No.
Oh, ये तो
B.
third part है.
25 times
Us, मुझे नहीं पता सर किधर.
25
Yes, sir,
times
2.5 multiplied by 10 power minus
minus
3.
25.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
0.0025.
That's third part.
Determine the number of moles of sulfuric acid. You have to take a ratio between the sodium hydroxide and a sulfuric acid. So the ratio between them is 2:1. So if we have 0.0025, this will be x. Cross multiply. What's the answer?
0.0025 minus
Divided by
0.00125.
Yeah, it's the same. Then we need a concentration. Concentration is moles divided by volume. So moles are 0.00125 and the volume of the sulfuric acid 20. So divided by 1000, so 0.02
0.0625.
moles per decimeter cube. If they ask us to convert this concentration from moles per dm cube to gram per dm cube, we'll multiply by the molar mass. A student is provided an aqueous solution of a sodium sulfate. Describe how to prepare a sample of a sodium sulfate crystal from this solution. So what you should do, repeat the experiment without indicator, then use crystallization, heat, concentrate, cool and filter. So one thing you have to mention, repeat without indicator.
Yes, sir. So repeat all the steps as shown previously, heat and concentrate at the
Without
point of
indicator
this.
with same volumes. Then use crystallization. Then heat, concentrate till the point of crystallization. Then you will cool, filter and dry.
One second, bro.
We will use a Bunsen burner, heat aqueous sodium sulfate.
Sir, why you didn't
crystals,
mention
green
fuel?
crystals.
You did?
No, sorry, sir.
One mark only you will miss, that is the repeating the without indicator.
Sir, why you didn't write funnel? I'm going to write, right?
Potassium hydrogen sulfate can be prepared by reacting aqueous potassium hydroxide with sulfuric acid. And a water is only other product. You have to write a symbolic equation. So potassium, aqueous potassium hydroxide is reacted with
KOH
No,
plus H2SO4.
potassium hydroxide.
SO2.
So it is producing a salt KHSO4
Yes.
plus H2. Then we have to write a symbol equation for this reaction. Then we have to balance the equation.
So no balancing.
So no, I check.
Yes, balance.
All are balanced. So
Yeah,
and that's why it is of 1 mark only. So you have to just complete the equation.
Sir, do you know what I want?
What do you want? I also want to speak. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, potassium hydrogen sulfate dissolve in water to form a solution X, which contain potassium ion, hydrogen ion, and sulfate ion. Which solution X contain these? Name a type of the solution that contain H plus ion. So type of a solution we call acid, or you can say acidic solution. That's also fine.
Flame test is colored out lilac color.
State the observation when the following tests are done. A flame test carried out in X. X contain a potassium ion. So what is the color? It will be lilac.
Lilac.
Copper 2 carbonate is added.
This side of
Look,
solid.
copper 2 carbonate is a solid and this is having a sulfate ion. So what will happen? It will form a copper sulfate. And because a carbonate react with a hydrogen ion, because of this solution is acidic and solution also contains sulfate ion. As the solution is acidic, in acid if I add a carbonate, So what I will see or observe, I'll observe fizz, bubbles, or effervescence because of carbon dioxide. As a carbonate react with an acid. And
We only write fizzing.
fizzing is also correct. And then it will form a blue solution. Why blue solution? Or a colored solution form? Because copper sulfate is colored. Copper sulfate is blue in color. That's why. So it will form a colored solution or a blue solution, you can say, and the bubbles because a carbonate is reacting with an acid, which will give fizz, bubbles, or effervescence. Fizzing, bubbles, effervescence. Barium nitrate is added. Barium nitrate is actually a test for sulfate ion. So what is the observation? It will be white PPT.
Why did you take a 1, 2, 3, 4? So आखिरी तो ये order है वैसे.
No, in the same, because the question was having points, bullet points. That's why I was expecting that you will write in the same line.
Sir, don't expect from us. You will have D or T.
0.325 gram of a zinc is added to 0.01 moles of sulfuric acid. Determine the limiting, how to work out limiting factor. First thing, you will work out the moles of each substance. Moles of sulfuric acid is already given. We'll find the moles of a zinc. How to get the moles of the zinc?
Sir,
How to get the moles of the zinc?
so we can
Mass in gram,
mass.
0.325 divided by molar mass. What is the molar mass of a zinc? You will use a periodic table and you will find
65.
that zinc is here in the periodic table, 65. So we'll divide by 65.
So the answer is 0.005.
So we divided by 65. So answer is 0.05. 0.005. Now, if you see the question, how many moles were there? Is it 0.005? Two zeros. So according to how to know a limiting factor, the ratio is 1:1. 1 mole of a zinc required 1 moles of a sulfuric acid. The simplest ratio. But what is the ratio here between them? Like we have a zinc and we have a sulfuric acid. According to equation, the ratio should be 1:1. But according to this, the zinc is 0.005 and the sulfuric acid is 0.01. If I take a simplest ratio, I'll divide by the smallest value. I'll 0. So this will be 1 and this will be 2.
So you can just.
This is 0.005. 2 zeros are there. So according to, so the ratio is 1:2 according to the moles which we have. But according to equation, the ratio should be 1:1. Like 1 mole of a zinc should react with 1 mole of a sulfuric acid. But according to the mole ratio, when we take a ratio of the moles of zinc and sulfuric acid, the mole ratio is 1:2. It means we have more moles of sulfuric acid than what we need. So whenever you need the limiting factor, you will first find the moles of two reactants and take a simplest ratio. And compare.
Empirical formula.
No, not empirical formula. First find the moles of two reactants and take a simplest ratio of their moles. And then compare with the equation.
Say to get the simplest ratio.
Yeah, so that you can work out the, that's a way of working out the limiting factor. You find the moles of each and take a simplest ratio and compare that simplest, because according to the equation, it should be 1 and 1. But according to what we have, it's 1:2. So which one we have more? 2 is more sulfuric acid. So sulfuric acid is excess and a zinc is a limiting. So how you will write, explain your answer, you will say the mole ratio between zinc and sulfuric acid is 1:2, which means sulfuric acid is more than what we need. So zinc is a limiting factor or limiting reagent.
Agent. Agent.
Limiting reactant or limiting reagent.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
This for -1.
Then another experiment. In another experiment, 48 cm cube of a hydrogen is produced. The experiment is carried out at room temperature and pressure. Calculate the number of molecules in 48 cm cube of hydrogen. First, we will find the moles. Moles equal volume of a gas divided by 24. But volume in dm cube, so it is 0.005 0.048 because we divide by 1000 divided by 24. What is the answer? 0.048 divided by 24?
0.0. Say 2 multiplied by 10
0.002.
minus 3.
Minus 3?
Yeah.
So 2 exponent minus 3 mole. But we need the number of the particles. So whenever you need the number of particles, 1 mole contains this many particles. So what you will do, you will multiply the moles by Avogadro's constant. So multiply by 6.02 exponent 23. What's the answer? How many molecules?
0.04 multiplied by 10 power 2 1.
21.
So 1.20?
1.204.
204? So that is how you worked out the moles, the number of particles. The next session will continue this mock remaining questions.
Correction you mean next week?
No, no.
कल तो mock दे रहे हैं।
देखिए सर मुश्किल था
सर,
सर
तो
इसलिए
पहला-